Hello everyone, this is Keith coming to you from Junk Pile Video. Today's screencast date is the 31st of October 2016. Today I'm not at Starbucks, but I am using very slow Wi-Fi as well as sitting on an uncomfortable chair. And I want to start out talking about a little bit of reputation. Okay, the gentleman in front of you is Chris Hawks. Now I gave an introduction at the end of part 1 of his name. Part 2, I got into details about Chris Hawks and that he may or may not know Soncerae Smith. But just to let you know, for the people who are coming to this video first, this gentleman here is a computer programmer. He works at Geico. He has 2 different companies, one called HipsterCode.com. He's got a pretty good reputation. As far as I can tell, everything that I've watched his videos regarding HTML coding, CSS coding, programming with Python or anything like that, he's on the up and up. And he does not go around saying that he's a computer engineer because he is not a computer engineer. He is into IT. Okay, now on the other hand, with Soncerae Smith, she doesn't have a very good reputation. She lies a lot. She lies about being a computer engineer. She lies a lot about a lot of things, and that we know very well. So again, for those who are just now finding out about her, because I only found out about her about 2 months ago, claiming to be a computer engineer and tried to see what programming languages she claimed she knew, she couldn't provide anything. So the reputation between Chris and Soncerae is night and day. Has nothing to do with him being a man, has nothing to do with him being white, has nothing to do with her being a woman, has nothing to do with her being black, has nothing to do with him having a penis, it has nothing to do with her having a vagina. The simple fact is, Soncerae is a pathetic liar.
A lot of the information that people tell you about Soncerae are lies. Okay? Like, I'm the most honest.
Is that so? Well, why is it that you have the most fake laugh I've ever heard? Really? Come on.
Like, I'm the most honest person in the world.
Well, that's a lie. I know you. First of all, how in the hell? Let's take that as a literal statement. How in the hell can you say that you are the most honest person in the world unless you know every single person in the world? So clearly that statement is not true, and the statement itself proves that you're not very honest. I mean, come on, you're not very honest and you're not very smart. There have been many times that you have been caught up in lies. Now, why do you think that is? You think people just hate you because you're a woman or because your skin happens to be brown? You really think that's what it is? So the honest women who happen to share your complexion, who don't have that issue, why is that? You think it's just, oh, Soncerae is just so unlucky. Everybody's always picking on Soncerae, calling her dumb and calling her dishonest and a liar because they just want to pick on her. No! That's not why it always happens. It happens because it's true. It's based on reality. This video in itself proves it. Now, in this video, you make some statements that I'm going to prove to be 100% false. And it's very easy to do, which is proving both that you're not very smart and that you are dishonest.
So what it was that I caught Soncerae doing on video was plagiarizing Chris Hawks, one of his videos. And we're going to play that here pretty soon, side by side with hers. Now, what she doesn't know, and what a lot of people do not know as well, is that plagiarizing someone else's work does not fall under the guidelines of fair use. I would recommend reading what plagiarizing is and reading the fair use. Now, fair use is all about giving your own commentary, your own opinion about someone's video, about someone else's commentary. And one thing you can't do with fair use, you just can't lie about the other person. But if you catch them in a lie, you have the right to critique that lie. And it can be in different forms. It can be in the form of satire. It can be in the form of anger, as long as it's the truth. If you look at Saturday Night Live, they're always making fun of politicians and stuff like that on the things that they say. So by the things that they say, they reiterate the truth of what they said. Okay? So the thing is that, she claims she's a computer engineer, right? But she has no computer engineering degree. Therefore, she is a liar. She is not a computer engineer. What she also likes to do is plagiarize. Anything that will make her sound a little more sophisticated to her YouTube audience that's ignorant about anything computer, she will go ahead and pawn off somebody else's work as her own. If Chris really wanted to, he can sue Soncerae for what she did. He could take a look at this video and do the side-by-side comparison, make a copy, send it to his lawyer, and go after Soncerae Smith. So first, let's go ahead and start this video comparison between Chris Hawk's video and Soncerae Smith's video.
Hey guys, what's up? Thanks for watching this video. And in this video, what I want to talk about is the top 10 programming languages that I think anybody should be learning if they want to be a programmer in 2016 and beyond. So it's not necessarily just a look at where all the jobs are. It's more of an opinion on where the industry is headed and where I feel like the different paradigms should be as far as your toolbox, your arsenal of programming languages, and like I said, paradigms that you should know to be a well-rounded programmer. So we're going to start with number 10. Number 10 on the list is the C programming language. It is, the godfather of all programming languages out there. I don't think it's the best first language to learn. There's no reason why you can't learn the basics of C using something like Python, C# or C++. You don't need C to do C++, but C is still involved in basically everything. So if you want to be a true hardcore hacker, learning the C language is never going to be a bad thing. It's number 10 on the list though, just because C is so verbose and so low level that typically you're not going to get an industry job, and at least with regards to web and where things are headed going into the future. I feel like C is going to be a little bit less on the lesser end than the other languages in this list. But definitely C is a good language to learn. And if you've done C# or JavaScript or Python or any of these other higher level languages built on top of C, then you've pretty much already done C programming, so the syntax will be relatively similar. You're just in for a lot of headaches with memory leaks and verbosity of writing C if you go with that route.
Hey, it's your girl Miss Soncerae here, and I want to talk about the programming languages that I think you should learn if you are interested in being a programmer. And I'm going to talk about it in a way that I believe the industry is headed to. This old language, C, it's an old language. Most languages are built on top of C. It's not the best first language to learn, but it helps with hacking. This is in case you want a computer security job. I'm not saying learn this language so you can casually hack into someone else's computer or whatever the case may be. Hacking, I do not condone hacking. It is illegal. But C is a super low-level language. Okay.
Alright guys, number 9 on this list is Golang, or Go programming language. And the reason for that is also the same reasons why I mentioned C. Go is a very low level verbose language that is gaining a lot of traction as far as server side technology or systems level language. Google is slowly incorporating it throughout their entire stack, from YouTube to old C++ libraries that they used to use. Go was invented by a lot of guys over at Go, as well as the godfather and creator of the C language himself, Ken Thompson. So definitely an awesome language to learn, and I would put that ahead of C at this point, because if you're going to go systems level and low level, you might as well go with Go, and you won't have to deal with the garbage collection. I would imagine we're going to see a major uptick in Google jobs, Google Go anyway, but we're probably still a couple years off. But you might as well jump in the water before it gets warm, and that way you'll be ready when the explosion happens, and there's a lot more demand for Google Go jobs. I say Google Go. It's really not. It's an open source language, but Go was created by the Google guys. It was kind of a company level project, but it can be used by any company. It doesn't have to have an affiliation with Google.
Go programming language. It's Google Go. Google uses this language. It was created by them, but it's an open source language. It's a systems and low level language. It's not very popular right now, but I think learning it right now, it will be popular in a few years. So I think it's something that you might want to know in the back of your mind at least.
All right, number 8 on this list is PHP. PHP is a web-based language. It was built specifically for the web. It can be used for other things besides the web, but that's really asinine in the corporate world. It's really just a PHP engine. It's what powers WordPress and millions of blogs out there. So there is a ton of demand for PHP. It can be a real ugly bastard at times. It was written by a guy who is a self-proclaimed non-coder, a guy that doesn't really like to code. As opposed to like geniuses that or like math whizzes like the guy that invented Python or the guy that masterminded the C# language. With PHP, it's a different story. So sometimes people refer to it as like having unique tools to do certain things. Like one guy referred to it as like basically a toolbox, and you pull out a hammer and it's got a claw on both ends, and you're like, well, it's kind of useful. I can kind of hit things with it sideways, but didn't really expect to have claws on both ends. But that's typically some of the complaints that come from PHP is like just kind of weird variances and not a whole lot of, I guess, foresight into additions to the language, and its biggest issue being security issues, mainly due to inexperienced coders, since PHP is a very easy language to jump into. Non-coders, non-programmers can quickly get a website up and running, even though there could be like major security holes with the website, and that's been known to plague PHP sites in the past. So it gets a lot of negative publicity for that, but so many websites are written in PHP because it is an easy language. It's a web-based language. It's kind of like a successor to Perl, and Perl used to run the web in the 90s. PHP kind of took a lot of that, and Python and Ruby are taking even more from PHP now. So that's why PHP is number 8 on this list, but still a great language to learn, especially if you need a job, because there's going to be a lot of jobs out there in PHP.
PHP. This is a web-based language, and it's what powers blogs. It's pretty annoying to me. Some people like to code. The guy that invented this code didn't like coding, so it's weird how he coded it. It's useful to a certain degree. It's a little extra and weird, but it's an easy language. You can get a website up and running quickly with PHP. It has security issues though. PHP basically replaced Perl, and Perl was popular in the 90s. Python and Ruby is replacing Perl, but it's still a great language to learn.
Number 7 on this list is Ruby, and the reason why Ruby is so popular is because of its web framework, Ruby on Rails, which was originally what Twitter was set up under. Ruby on Rails still powers a lot of very successful, very large websites, and it was really the first to mastermind the entire web framework as we see it now. So a lot of alternatives like Django and ASP.NET and really Ruby paved the way for a lot of the features that you see in those modern web frameworks now. I mean, they kind of they have a lot of magic included, so it's like a all-inclusive type framework. So one of the complaints is that there is too much black box magic going on underneath the scenes, but it's also very easy to install a gem and get your website up and running with the latest features that you could need. So it's got a huge community, a ton of Ruby on Rails jobs. The reason why Ruby is all the way down on number 7 though is because it's really just seen as a web language. So there is not much demand for this language outside of Ruby on Rails. So if you're going to be in like GUI development, or basically like Windows, any sort of non-web-based language or approach, even like data crunching and stuff like that, you're typically not going to see that done in Ruby. You're going to see other languages that we have on the list here. So anyway, Ruby is still a great language to learn, especially if you're looking for a job in the web development field using Ruby on Rails.
Ruby is a web language. Ruby on Rails was used by Twitter, and it was used first to master their web framework, and it paved the way for modern web frameworks. It's easy to install a gem, but it's too much black box magic. It's very, very good for web development, though.
All right, number 6 on this list is Swift, which is the newest replacement for Objective-C, which is Apple's programming language of choice, which works just out of the box, works everything on Mac, iOS, iPod. Apple's obviously a huge company, one of the largest companies in the world, might even be the largest company by market cap at the time of this video. I haven't looked it up recently, but they're obviously a huge company. And I'll give you a little hint into the remainder of this list that Objective-C is not on it. And the reason why is, like I said, there's still a lot of Objective-C demand, obviously, but Swift is looking to be like the Python of C, but basically the Python of Objective-C, which they call Swift. So it's very Python-like, very easy to use, much less verbose than Objective-C. And I think we're going to see in the future more and more jobs transitioning from the Objective-C environments as more libraries and things get ported over to Swift, and you're going to see a lot more demand in Swift and specifically just Swift. So anyway, that is why that is number 6 on this list. So obviously Apple speaks for itself. It's a huge environment with a lot of potential for jobs and future growth.
Also, Swift. Swift is the replacement for Apple's programming language Objective-C. It's the Python of Objective-C. Swift is a good language to learn because Apple is what? Isn't Apple like the #1 technology company in like the world? So you might want to know Swift just cause, okay? Like, cause you can get a job with this stuff. Like, these are all languages that I think you can get a decent job if you learn them.
All right, number 5 on this list is C#, and we just went from Swift with Apple now to C#, and the reason why C# is so popular is because it is the language of the .NET framework, which is the Microsoft proprietary systems technology. So anything Microsoft, from forms to websites to the Windows Phone, C# is going to be your go-to language. And that is, once again, it speaks for itself. The net profits of Microsoft, even with all the negative publicity at times, is still like astronomically high. I believe they clear like $20 billion in profit every year, or something ridiculous like that. Still a humongous company, one of the most reputable and most distinguished brands of our history. So not going anywhere anytime soon, and with the power of Microsoft behind it, C# is still going to be poised to be a very good language to learn in the corporate world going forward. Now, if they had better options for hosting and maybe with their open sourcing of their technologies that they've been announcing over the last couple of years, we may see more growth into like non-Microsoft operating systems, which would be a breath of fresh air, so that Windows developers can actually move outside of the Windows platform and not be so restricted to just one particular operating system, which is really the downfall of C#, is that it really only works with Windows. So it's number 5 on this list just because Microsoft is so large.
C#. C# is the .NET framework for Microsoft proprietary systems technology. Basically anything Microsoft, forum sites, phones. This is the language that they use, the Windows Phone. Now, if they were to become an open source, it will probably grow, where developers can go outside of one particular operating system and they can go use this specific language to do other things. That would be awesome. But right now, you can only use C# with anything Microsoft. And I believe that's it for now. I believe that's it for now. Those are the 10 languages that I think would be good to know.
Number 4 on this list is C++, and C++ has seen a huge rejuvenation in the amount of followers it's been receiving with its newest C++ 11 standards. It's really looking to standardize everything about C++ so that it's much easier for new developers to come along and understand what and how they should be coding C++. Because it's such an old language dating back to the 80s, and it's such a like tacked on language where they just tack random shit on here and there, that it gets a really bad rap for like outdated documentation and just really just mind-boggling confusion about how to do like certain mundane tasks, and it can be very, very difficult. It doesn't have any sort of memory management or anything like that, so it's very difficult to jump into. But with C++ 11, it is making it a little bit easier for newcomers to join and jump in the warm waters of C++, because there are still a ton of jobs out there for C++. Game engines are almost entirely written in C++. So any sort of computer gaming, Unity, Unreal, they all use C++. And it is definitely not going anywhere. So any sort of graphics, physics engines, or anything that you'll see out there, it's going to have some sort of C++ wrapper for it, or directly it'd be a C++ library. So anyway, that is definitely not going anywhere anytime soon, and that's why it's number 4 on this list.
Okay, C++. New developers can learn C++ 11. It's a lot easier. It was such an old language, it was harder to code. It was created in the 80s, so it was somewhat outdated. And it's complicated, and there is no kind of memory management. Game engines, computer games like Unreal, Unity are written in this language. Physics engines have a C++ library for it.
Alright, number 3 on this list is Python, and the reason why Python is emerging as number 3 is it's now the number 1 most taught programming language, introductory language, taught at top IT schools around the nation, around the United States and worldwide. Carnegie Mellon, MIT, Stanford, Caltech, all these major IT firms, they're all teaching Python as the number 1 introductory language. It's also emerged as a very good web alternative to something like PHP, or where Perl used to dominate. Python is now eating their lunch with web-based sites. So the Django web framework is arguably, well, it's not as popular as Ruby on Rails or as widely used, but it's certainly just as well regarded as Ruby on Rails. It powers sites like Discuss, Pinterest, Instagram. Some major websites are using Python. Python's still heavily used by Google, Gmail, and YouTube. So Python's not going anywhere anytime soon. There's been an explosion of jobs. And then the biggest industry that it's in right now is also bioinformatics. It's the go-to language for any sort of biologists, and huge number crunching with different libraries that Python has. And the reason why is it's so much easier for a data scientist to pick up Python than it is for them to pick up C#. And Python is fast enough for them to be able to do their number crunching and make their jobs a whole lot easier. So Python is well ahead of Ruby in this regard, just because there may be more Ruby on Rails jobs. Python's growing in multiple industries and doesn't appear to be slowing down anytime soon.
Speaking of Python, Python is the most taught language in schools. I didn't go to college for IT. I went for business. Everything I learned about computer programming, I learned on the job and from other programmers. It's a good introductory language. It's a good web base that is better to use than PHP. Instagram, Gmail, YouTube, they use this language. And biologists use this language. Data scientists use it to do their number crunching. And it's growing in multiple industries.
Alright, number 2 on this list is going to be Java, which is the programming language for native Android development. So Java is not just big in its own right, it's like the number 1 language used on like DVD players, Blu-ray players, and embedded systems, servers, GUIs, web-based, anything, search engines. Basically, Java is in everything. It has the most jobs. There's There's a ton of Java demand out there. And since it's Android's native environment, so its entire SDK is written in Java, it is definitely number 2 on this list for jobs, for future, for anything. If you know Java, you'll have a job. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best, but it is head and shoulders and more demand than the other languages that I've mentioned so far when it comes to actual jobs.
Java. People are always looking for people who know Java. Java is the language for Android development. Embedded systems, server DVDs, Blu-ray, search engines, damn near everything, so it's in demand. So if you want to learn a computer language, I think that Java and JavaScript are basically the 2 languages that you really, really need to try to learn.
All right, and the number 1 language on this list, and for good reason, is JavaScript. JavaScript seems like a boring number 1, but it is by far and away the most important language for web-based development. Pretty much everything in the programming IT world nowadays is web-based. It's used in conjunction with any sort of back-end server-side technology that you want to use, whether it be PHP, Python, Ruby, C#, Java. JavaScript's going to be used in all of that stuff. JavaScript's now also emerging as a full server-side technology as well, and not just a browser-based language. So we're quickly moving into an almost entire JavaScript UI, and it can be very difficult to learn in some cases. I mean, the beginner concepts are easy, but JavaScript has a lot of very unique behavior compared to other languages, and a lot of people do overlook it. Popular libraries like the jQuery library, or more modern frameworks like Angular, Backbone, Knockout, those are all JavaScript based frameworks. You also have tools like React, which is still just a JavaScript framework. So it's really just JavaScript, JavaScript, JavaScript everywhere you learn, or everywhere you turn, and it should be everywhere you learn too. So that actually worked out. So anyway, if you want to get in web development, definitely learn JavaScript. It's probably the single most important language you could possibly learn right now. Alright guys, thanks for watching this list, and please subscribe. Let me know if you disagree, call me a jerk, whatever. People are very passionate about their languages. I try to be as independent as possible. So I've been in the IT world for quite some time now, so these are just my own personal opinions, and I could be wrong. So anyway, thanks for watching guys. Bye.
The most important language that I think every web developer should learn or programmer should learn is JavaScript. It's the most important language for web-based development. It's used in conjunction with any back-end server-side technology used. It's a full server-side technology, not just browser-based. It's very difficult to learn. It's extremely unique. Most popular libraries and modern frameworks are JavaScript frameworks. If you want to get in web development, you have to learn this language. Like I told people before, my first little tiny web language I learned first was HTML. And then I learned database languages like SQL. So I really baby stepped it here. Like, when you don't go to college for computer engineering or computer science, you're going to meet some people inside of IT who are extremely smart. And you got 2 choices. You can get to know these people and learn what they learn, or you can take yourself to college for 7 years trying to learn this stuff. So for me, I just said, you know what? I'm around a whole bunch of IT people. These people know more than what I do. Why don't I just learn from these people? And that's exactly what I did. I appreciate you guys checking out my channel. If you have any suggestions on tech tutorials I can do, please let me know. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel, Miss CPU TV. That's where I will be putting all of my tech videos up. All things tech news, tech tutorials. I'm going to go hard with it. It's going to take me some time, but you know what? Baby step it. Always tell you guys to baby step it. I appreciate you guys watching. Have vision and stay focused. Bye.